Yo, yo, yo. Every once in a while, I have an amazing person come to my house. This is Ben Greenfield, by the way, in case you were wondering. This podcast involves such a guest who does not fall short. I guarantee you that. This cat showed up at my doorstep and entertained me from minute one, me and my boys, showing us all manner of exercise tricks and how to use like clubs and these like really cool handheld devices that make you a faster runner and special moves on a kettlebell. He invented the freaking Bosu Ball. I mean, how cool is that? And we hung out at my house a lot and talked a lot. And he's a super, super intelligent, cutting edge guy. He's one of those guys who just like thinks outside the box, which I really respect. His name is David Weck, and you're going to get to take a deep dive into David's mind in today's show. This show is brought to you, speaking of innovative things, toothbrush. Yes, a toothbrush, but this thing is like Apple designed a toothbrush. It won Time Magazine's Best Invention. It won a GQ Grooming Award, made it onto Oprah's New Year's O list, and it's an electric toothbrush with vibration and a timer that reminds you like when to switch to a new area of your teeths. And it literally, it's like Apple designed a toothbrush, but without the big price tag. So you got to see this. You got to brush with this for yourself, and you can try it out. You get your first refill pack free, by the way. It's called the Quip. Here's how you get your first refill pack free and get the Quip at just $25. You go to getquip.com/Ben. That's GETQUIP.com/Ben. And your dentist will be the first person to tell you that you don't have to dish out hundreds of bucks for a top-of-the-line electric toothbrush. And you can start taking care of your teeth at a very, very affordable rate with this thing. And it's literally revolutionizing the oral care industry. So check it out. GetQuip, GETQUIP.com/Ben. This podcast is also brought to you by these sick-looking watches. They're called movement watches, MVMT. So they founded this watch company on the belief that style shouldn't break the bank. Now, they've sold over 1 million watches in 160 countries around the world, and every single watch is gorgeous. It's beautiful. They start at $95 compared to the same type of watch at a department store, which is going to set you back like $400 to $500. I have one. My brother has one. My wife has one. This company was started by two broke college kids that wanted to wear stylish watches, and they couldn't afford them, so they started their own watch company. And they just send them directly to you. You get 15% off an already slamming deal. This is great for holiday gifts, by the way. Free shipping and free returns. Just go to movementwatches.com/Ben, but not like it sounds, not like Movement Watches. Instead, MVMTwatches.com/Ben. That's MVMTwatches.com/Ben. You can join the movement. See what I did there? All right, let's get on to today's show. In this episode of the Ben Greenfield Fitness Show.
My college football coach used to say, the eye in the sky does not lie, okay? It can be misinterpreted, which it is when you don't understand it, but it doesn't lie.
If you think about balance, the best way to think about balance is coordination, okay? It's an orchestra. It's where and when. That's what balance is. It's homeostasis.
Right now, I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm not afraid of anything. Ask me a question and be prepared, because you might not be able to handle the answer, because I'm just going to tell you the truth.
He's an expert in human performance and nutrition. Voted America's top personal trainer and one of the globe's most influential people in health and fitness. His show provides you with everything you need to optimize physical and mental performance. He is Ben Greenfield.
Power, speed, mobility, balance. Whatever it is for you, that's the natural movement. Get out there. When you look at all the studies done, studies that have shown the greatest efficacy.
All the information you need in one place, right here, right now, on the Ben Greenfield Fitness Podcast.
You're not allergic to that smell in here, are you?
No.
Do you know what you're smelling right now? That is the scent of the wonderful rosemary. Diffusing. Did you know rosemary actually increases your memory when you smell it? Yeah.
My father told me to drop rosemary drops in my scalp.
Wait, how do you drop them into your scalp? What do you mean?
Take one of those little rosemary things. You just.
You mean onto your scalp?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Onto.
Yeah. Like you got holes in your head, like a cheese grater. We are recording, my friend. We are recording. We are live. If you're listening in right now, I have a kind of slightly insane guy in my office. His name is David Weck, the David Weck. Pretty much the main thing that I knew about him until yesterday, essentially, was that he invented the Bosu Ball. You invented the Bosu Ball.
That is correct.
We're going to have to get into that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would imagine there's more to inventing a Bosu Ball than just like finding a big old exercise ball at the gym and chopping it in half. Or is that the whole story? Did I just tell it?
No. I think it's a little more intriguing than that. Yeah.
All right. Well,
and there's also the entrepreneurial aspect of it. I think some people might be curious about.
Entrepreneur. Is it? What's that from? The Little Rascals? Is it? No, who's the little kid in the Little Rascals? You know, not
Spanky Alfalfa.
No, not Spanky or Alfalfa. The little back in the day. I don't know what they would have called this little fella. He was a little African American fella.
Oh, buckwheat
or
stymie.
Buckwheat.
Yeah, buckwheat.
Entrepreneur.
Eddie Murphy did a good one.
And entrepreneur did that. Yeah, Eddie Murphy did that too. Okay. So, anyways, though, David is he doesn't just cut balls in half. He's actually wicked smart. We just finished filming a video out in my driveway because he's here at my house in Spokane, Washington. And David showed me how to activate my core. He showed me a brand new way to run that just blew my mind. You guys I'll be posting plenty of links for you in the show notes that you'll get to see in terms of some of the things that he's invented to make you a faster runner, to turn on your core, to turn on your butte. He taught me how to fix a flat butt.
Oh yeah.
So that's all. I'll link to the Facebook Live video that we just shot. Just go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/weck. That's bengreenfieldfitness.com/WECK. So, anyways, though, quick thing about David. He's of course the CEO of BOSU Fitness. It's like a whole company. It's not just a ball. It's like
it's a company. I'm the founder. I'm the founder.
So what did I just call you? The CEO?
CEO, yeah.
Okay, so the founder just gets to walk away and be lazy. The CEO.
No. Well, here's what it is. Okay, the CEO has to catch tuna and make sure that you're making money.
Mm-hmm.
The founder has to set the vision for the next big thing, and my hook or harpoon isn't prepared to catch tuna.
You're the big vision guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. You know where you belong.
Prehistoric beast, bigger than a blue whale.
The RMT Club. You invented that, which I thought was the silliest thing ever.
Did you really?
Somebody sent me one, and I'm like, dude, this is like a mace for 6-year-olds. It's like this light club, because I'm used to like the big, like the Onnit maces and these big steel clubs, and I get this thing in the mail. It's like this plastic club, and I'm like, I play around. I toss it in the corner of the gym, and then I just whipped it out when David came over. I'm like, here, dude, I know you invented this, but and then, dude, just like 5 minutes up my driveway, you completely gassed me with it.
Well, here's the thing, okay? Speed. And I've been training with clubs for 20 years. I got a whole collection. You know how you come into Ben Greenfield's home if you ever were privileged to do so. This man has more toys and gadgets and things that fix your DNA.
Yeah, people send me shit.
Oh God, yes. But so my house looks like that with clubs, and so I invented the club that didn't exist because I care about the functional carryover to movement first and foremost, and speed. Right? You clipped yourself in the leg just a little bit going.
It didn't hurt. It would have hurt if I would have had like one of those big steel maces.
Cancel Christmas.
Yeah. Cancel my trip to Finland in a couple days. You showed me a move I could do in the back of the plane to turn my butt. It's called the Royal Coil, and you guys have to see this video. So again, I'll link to that, and I'll link to all of his crazy Weck Method videos. But anyways, David descended on my house in Spokane, and before we dive into like how this club came to be and how the Bosu Ball came to be, dude, I want to go way back. How old are you?
I am 47 years old.
47.
That's right.
And you said this whole story. You were telling me, and we haven't had a chance to talk about this too much, but it started when you were 6?
No, it started at birth. Okay, so
of course.
No. But what I'm saying is sort of the so you're sort of the product of your your genetics. It's the nature and the nurture, right?
Right.
So you're cut from a certain cloth, and then depending upon your surroundings, that's what shapes you. Those two factors, right?
Genetics, epigenetics.
Yeah. So I was born to loving, caring, amazing parents, And my father's one of the most competitive people I know. Okay. And this was his first son. Okay. And he, Harvard Business School, he's a go-getter. He's an incredible man. And he put me on the pedestal. So for my first 19 months of existence, the world revolved around me.
What did your dad do?
He was a consultant.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the world revolves around you and you have a mother who just dotes on you, you have a father who makes your relatives put on surgical masks and gloves the first time they come over because you're not going to mess this kid up.
You kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding.
He'd never heard of like the hygiene hypothesis, had he?
He just, no. Apparently not.
I had my kids licking dog poop and hanging out with the goats out back.
No, well, I got into the dirt, pretty soon thereafter.
Right.
But what I'm talking is, days old. I was his, project, progeny, right?
Oh gosh.
He wants to be the best, and guess what he wanted from me? So my first 19 months, that's my exposure. And you, as a human being, you have a want curve, right? And if you get what you want, the want curve will expand and get bigger.
Right.
And if you don't get what you want, you have to either reconcile you ain't going to get what you want, or you have to figure out how to get what you want. That's the way life works. So my want curve was, the universe.
Right.
Right.
So were you saying you were born with a silver spoon, or just like super duper high achiever type of dad?
Super duper high achiever dad. No silver spoon.
He wanted to live vicariously through you.
No, well, I don't know if because he was successful. He just wanted me to be better than him.
Okay.
Be the best in the world. Yeah. So anyway, that's how it started. And then come 6 years old, that's when I began to start to realize that, hey, wait a minute, I'm really not the best at anything. Anything. I mean,
you remember thinking this when you were 6 years old?
Yeah, some kid beat me in a race, and I'm like, can I swear on this podcast or no?
Yeah, you can. We'll cowbell it out.
Okay, good.
For the kiddos.
Good. I'll try not to do it.
For all the 6-year-olds.
I have sort of a football background, and some of the most influential people in my life were, they cuss like sailors. So
no kidding.
I get excited and I do that too. So I'll refrain as best I can. But when I was 6 years old, I got beat in a foot race, and I was just like, wait a minute, what the, that's not supposed to happen.
Because you're the best.
Because I'm the best.
Supposed to be the best.
Supposed to be the best.
Your dad had been telling you for 6 years.
Not telling me. That was the vibe.
Okay.
Yeah. It was much deeper than spoken word.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway.
So were you the only kid?
No, I'm the first of 4.
Oh, okay.
But I'm the first.
You're the first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, that's where it started. When I was 6 years old, it started to dawn upon me that, wait a minute, I'm not the best at this. I'm not the best at that. I was still a very high achiever. I mean, my first grade teacher told my parents, she said, look, your son is very talented, but he's going to come into problems because everything is easy for him and he gets to coast with what we're doing. And he's going to coast like that. And then he's going to get hit with the cold water that you can't always coast. Okay. So, and we'll get into some of the crashes. Yeah. But so anyway,
so you lose the foot race at 6 years old.
Yes. So that 6-year-old experience coincided with another one where I fell asleep standing up. All right, now just think about that. That's sort of like the epitome of effortless power, right? Normally,
what do you mean you fell asleep standing up?
I was standing and I fell asleep.
When was this?
6 years old.
Still 6 years old. You remember this?
No. The story was told to me. I don't remember that.
Okay.
No.
So what's that have to do with this?
Well, these are the imprints that form you as a person.
Okay.
Right. So there's sort of these, that's just a deep neurological experience that, it's enticing. How would you like to fly, Ben Greenfield?
I'd love to fly.
I bet you'd like that. Yeah, so would I, right? So falling asleep standing up is very indicative of like, holy shit, like I can do so much with so little. It's pretty cool.
I thought falling asleep when you were standing up was a bad thing.
Well, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's happened
to me before training with the Navy SEALs down at that Kokoro camp in San Diego.
Did you stay standing?
Neck of the woods.
Did you stay standing?
I don't think I did. I toppled.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think that's sort of what's supposed to happen. Is you lose consciousness, you lose the ability to stand.
26-mile night hike, and then they had us do Murph with a 50-pound weighted vest, and this was at like 4 a.m. And
those are
brief moment. I fell asleep, wobbled, came back up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this is not those extenuating circumstances, and it was just an extraordinary event that my nervous system remembered, my conscious brain did not. Right, And then I'm going to tell you one more experience at 6 years old that I recall was I was laying in bed one night, and suddenly and unexpectedly the walls just started to expand away from me. And it was a very, like, it started, and then it started to get faster, and it started to get faster, and I shook it off. And I remember being absolutely terrified. Like, it was just like, and I shook it off. And I think, we live in this right now reality, right? And that's what we've formed to, that's what we're tuned to. But there's also this timeless...
Your mom didn't sneak psilocybin in your macaroni and cheese, did she?
I'm not aware if she did or not. I don't think so. I think that would have been...
By the way, my boys are making mushroom risotto upstairs, and they do some wild plant foraging. So you might have a repeat of that later on tonight.
I'll take a small bite at first.
Work your way around the mushrooms.
But there's a timeless time. There's a lot of mystery. There's other frequencies. There's other dimensions. There's a lot that we as human beings in this realm don't understand. And I think some people tap into those things. And I think, you're surrounding here without all of the electrical noise, those sort of, no Wi-Fi. No exactly. Yeah. Most of, look, you carry your phone in your pocket, and, you got your Bluetooth earphones, and you got all this stuff. It's just, there's a ton of noise in this modern world that we live in. Right. So, and I think what that does is it distracts you from the ability to tune into the circadian rhythm, the more natural thing. Perhaps years ago, this remote viewing concept may have been possible. Maybe you could raise stones if you knew where the nodal lines are in the earth, and, you could resonate energy.
Yeah, I interviewed Paul Chek, who invented the original ball, which you bastardized.
He did not invent the ball.
What did he do? He invented ways to use it?
Yeah, he made it very popular. Like, I would say that,
be careful what you say. He listens.
Good. Okay. Hi, Paul.
So, yeah, he does a lot of that remote viewing stuff.
Okay, right. Now, he probably lives in the same, you guys are in the sense, there's very few people who have carved out the sanctuary that you guys have.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what remote viewing is, it's like, being able to use extrasensory perceptions to know what's going on, like far away, like where whatever, like your family member who's in Virginia is doing, and you're up in Idaho, and all of a sudden, like, you realize that whatever, they just crashed on their bicycle, and you just like sit there and you know it, and you call them on the phone, and they just crashed on their bicycle.
My in-laws, my ex-wife, her father in the house. Someone used to come into the parlor, it's now called the living room, but, living room, because that's where you had the wake. And when they'd walk through the house and they pass through the parlor or the living room, they would smell flowers, and they knew somebody had died in the family. Wow. And it was true every time. Wow. So anyway, that's sort of, and I think about that experience when the walls were going away, I was able to shake it off. And I can't help but think that, the rock opera Tommy from The Who. Mm-hmm. It's such a beautiful, story, right? This kid sees his mother having sex with another man, and they, beat that out of him, and he becomes autistic. And the eyes detect the light, the dials detect it. And
that's what Tommy is about?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He hears but cannot answer to your call. Wow. And then he becomes aware, right? After being this pinball wizard. It's a great album.
That's crazy. You're going down a deep rabbit hole, dude.
No. Bring it back. Bring it back.
All right. Bring it back 6 years old.
All right, bring it back. 6 years old. All right. So I liked girls. Show me yours. I'll show you mine. Got straight A's in school easily. And after first grade comes second grade, and that was my life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, that's 6 years old.
Okay, so you're into sports. I know you had some success in football. Yeah. I've seen you move. You obviously are very into fitness. When did sports enter the scene?
Oh, I wanted to run like the wind since I was born. I love to just run like the wind. It's just pure joy. And then I fell in love with football. I just loved the sport so much. And my father didn't let me play organized football as a youngster. So, it was just, watching it.
Why not? He didn't want you to get hurt?
He didn't want me to get hurt.
So he has the neighbors come over with the gloves and the masks on, and then doesn't let you.
No, it was weird because I rode a bike as a child. I used to ride wagons down the hill, skateboards and shit.
It was kind of funny. I did too. Like, I had a motorcycle.
Yeah.
We lived out in the countryside. I had a mountain bike.
Yeah.
I was a super active kid. I'd go on these 10-mile hikes out in the countryside. But my mom made me wear a bike helmet to climb trees.
Uh-huh.
I had some of that going on too. Where you'd have these certain things where it just didn't even make sense. And also, my parents did not allow me to play organized football. They said that I would get hurt and kids get concussions, and they didn't like the attitude of the football players. So they got me into the preppy sports instead. Or like I played tennis, and I had golf lessons,
the lifetime sports.
I played basketball too, but I didn't play football either.
Well, anyway, football was my passion. I wasn't allowed to play formally until high school, when I would have rebelled to the point where it was like, look, I'm either playing football or that's it.
Right.
So anyway. Sports were always in the equation. And I think this sort of dilemma that I had of, being surrounded, first, exposure to life, the universe revolved around me, realizing that, hey, wait a minute. No, it doesn't. Not at all. And then, wanting to be the best at things in sports. So I had sort of this, the OCD aspect of, especially baseball, because baseball is such a 0 to 100 game. You're sitting there and then you got to go hit a pitch, right? And it's a very precise thing. And I was very good at it. I had the best batting average in the league. And
in high school?
No, it was prior high school. So it was the senior little league.
It was before you got into football, before you were allowed to play football. You're playing baseball.
Well, I played baseball, basketball, soccer. They didn't have lacrosse in my day. I would have been great at lacrosse, but anyway, I didn't play it. So sports always, but I used to have to ascend the staircase a certain way, and I had to look down the field 3 times, and so I had these like OCD things that I did to just psychologically maintain an edge that I could play. When you watch Nomar Garciaparra get into the batter's box, and undo the batting gloves, zip 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 zip, touch this, touch that, tap tap. So baseball is a very OCD sport, because the pressure's so intense and it's such a 0 to 100 thing.
Right. And
they say hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things you could do. And that's why some of the baseball players aren't like...
Unless you're a baseball player. Have you read The Sports Gene, where they'll take a professional baseball player, they tell this story, and they put him up against the best softball player in women's softball. And because baseball players are so used to not watching the ball, right? They watch the pitcher. You watch the pitcher, you know when the ball is going to get to you and how the ball is traveling by what the pitcher is doing. So when you swing, you're not actually tracking the ball, you're tracking more of the pitcher's motions. And so what they did was they took some of the best hitters in the league, and in MLB, they put them up against a women's softball pitcher. And because these guys weren't accustomed to that type of movement on the mound, and the ball was coming at them in a completely different way, she was striking them out.
Yeah, I think that's an acclimation issue. Because I think, you give them some time.
Obviously, eventually they'd be able to figure it out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, so baseball was your sport. Your dad wouldn't let you play football.
Football was the sport.
And football became your sport. So what happened as you were playing football?
No, I was the guy who, I'd die trying. I would sacrifice myself. I would jumble my sentences in high school because it was a badge of honor to, carve a big, groove in your helmet with a big hit. If you broke the face mask off, that was, another thing. Drinking beer on the weekends and, headbutting the wall and headbutting your buddy, just that sort of rowdy football kind of thing, right? So I did all that, and captain of the football team. And football is what got me into Williams College, though. So
yeah, but you told me you got into some trouble in high school, too.
Yeah, but pre-high school is when I really got into trouble. Because
what happened?
I would hang out with friends, and we just like to be, sort of delinquents, terrorize the neighborhood, go out at night, just steal stuff and, throw all the crap in a pool. And, eventually I was, we used to just go into cars and take stuff like cassette tapes or whatever. And I was in front of the town hall one night.
Sober, or you guys doing drugs too?
Oh, no. The only things I've ever done is beer and pot. No other drug. I mean, I've not had another drug, aspirin or whatever that was, but not mind altering.
Right.
So,
until you have my kids' risotto later on.
Yeah, exactly, with those mushrooms.
Yeah.
You can't wait. Yeah. So I just got into a lot of mischief, and it was the excitement of it. And here you are, you got a lot on the line. You're an honor roll student, to all intents and purposes, viewing me from the outside, this kid's a good kid, and so there was a tremendous amount of excitement in, doing that kind of mischief. And eventually, I broke into a police car and was taking a pistol and a magazine of clips, and they came around the corner, and then I got caught, and I had to do community service, and that basically put a stop to most of it at that point in time. But
So eventually, so you were a little bit of a trouble kid.
Yeah.
But not that different than a lot of American high schoolers.
No.
What about you? So you're already into fitness. What about nutrition? Were you into nutrition?
Not really. I mean, my parents, like, my house was the boring house where we had like the whole grain wheat bread, and we had this Smucker's peanut butter. And,
the same as me, taking baked pizza, Jiffy peanut butter, iceberg lettuce with ranch dressing.
No, see, my
and then 29-cent hamburger a day.
No, I was exactly the opposite growing up.
Oh, really?
Oh, no. My stuff was, we didn't have Wonder Bread, we didn't have Jif, we didn't have any of that stuff. It was all like the healthy versions of stuff. Oh, wow. I hated it when I was a kid.
Yeah,
now I prefer it.
You guys were ahead of the curve.
I guess so, but we didn't have Captain Crunch.
Oh, dude, I grew up on peanut butter Captain Crunch.
Yeah, so there's hope for people who grow up like that.
Peanut butter flavored milk. Kind of. I don't know how many years I took off my life. I've done telomere testing, and I'm 35 years old chronologically, but 36 biologically. So it was either the peanut butter Captain Crunch or 13 Ironman triathlons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know which one takes more years off your life.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I had a buddy who did the Ironman 5 years in a row, and he said that he had to eat ice cream, otherwise he'd just emaciate. So he had to eat it.
Yeah,
and he said
a copious amount of calories.
Yeah,
you said you were eating 10,000 calories a day
easily
in high school.
Yeah, in high school.
That's a lot.
I've had a huge appetite my entire life. Like I could eat and eat.
I could have cooked more food today for you.
Well, I'm fine.
I got up today. I knew you were coming over.
Yeah,
and I made crock pot chicken.
I can't wait.
You know how I do this? I take a, and then we'll get back into your story. I take a cast iron skillet and in a big pat of butter. I do onions and some cremini mushrooms, some diced tomatoes from the garden, and then some thyme and cilantro from the backyard, salt, pepper, a little bit of cayenne. And so I stir all that together and saute that with just a little bit of red wine. And then I take an organic bone broth and a bunch of organic pasture-raised chicken breast. I put that in the crock pot. I dump all the vegetables over the crock pot. It's been cooking now for 5 hours upstairs. And, we'll eat in a couple hours if we finish the podcast. Just melt in your mouth, crock pot chicken.
Right. Well, you're talking
to you got to get a crock pot for easy, because then I just walk away and it does its thing.
Exactly. Now, you're talking to someone who can appreciate food and good taste. All right. Good. I'm the guy, you line up 5 wines, blind test that I'll tell you all 5 every single time.
Good. Well, I'll break out the good sea salt and the good wine. We'll eat good tonight. But anyway, so back to football. So you went on to Williams College.
Yes.
Because the reason I'm asking these questions is I want to kind of get a background, give background for people. I know you have a fantastic history because Chris Holder, who introduced us, and by the way, if you guys are listening, and you got to go listen to the podcast with Qigong master and strength conditioning badass Chris Holder, who connected me with David, because we had a great episode. He also came up to my house. We did kettlebell swinging and Qigong, but he said, get David's backstory, because it really leads into this whole invention of the Bosu Ball and his crazy ideas about reinventing fitness, why a lot of these biomechanists and coaches are wrong. So you played at Williams College, and what happened there?
Basically, I played above my level by using brains to augment my brawn. Film study was my big thing, and it was more X's and O's than it is, biomechanics, which is, what I use film study now for, or video study now. And so I had an advantage because I, could read plays. And I could put my body in a position to make a play, whereas I didn't have to react as fast because I knew what was coming. And then in the summertime...
So you're saying you weren't as natural an athlete, but you were using more your brains, or you were a good athlete who was throwing brains on top of that?
No, I was a good athlete, 4.6 40, could dunk a volleyball, I could catch a ball.
Volleyball.
Yeah, that's palming, right?
I used to brag about being able to dunk a tennis ball.
Yeah.
And then I actually got to the point I could dunk my senior year of high school, my freshman year of college. And then I started to do bodybuilding. I kind of heavy.
Oh, yeah.
And so I lost the ability to dunk, and then went straight from bodybuilding into endurance sports, and completely lost my vert, right? Like I turned on my fast twitch muscle into slow twitch muscle.
Exactly, yeah. Yep. But, so I was a good athlete, but I certainly wasn't the best. But I played above my ability using the brains. And so I've always, I come from a very smart family. Both of my brothers and my sister basically have... Everybody's entrepreneurial. My brothers are just like crazy smart in math. Crazy smart. They got it from my grandfather. And my smarts are, I think, whatever brain power I have is augmented by what I'll say fearlessness and honesty. So I I don't take anything. Common sense is my greatest evaluation of anything. So if it doesn't make sense to me, I don't care who you are, what your background is or something. I want to know. I want to know what it is. It's got to make sense to me. I got to, if I don't understand, I'm never going to pretend that I understand it. And I'm going to understand it, and I could be wrong, and then I'll understand better when I, understand it. But I'll keep going.
Got it. So you're studying film
yes.
in football to get good at football.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happened at Williams? What were you studying over there?
I majored in political economy. Okay. Sophomore year, you're supposed to declare your major. I didn't even know the day that you were supposed to do it. I hadn't, thought about it once. Somebody came around the dorm and said, hey, you got to declare your major by tomorrow. I'm like, oh, geez. But, I started looking at my, previous classes, and, political economy was considered a very prestigious major. That's a hard major.
Right.
But econ and, math and poli-sci, there's a lot less reading than, say, English, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can do math fast compared to you have to read 90 pages of this book. And the poli-sci, I basically taught myself to speed read so I could just get through it.
Yeah.
So my strategy academically was cover my butt so that I could go, work on Wall Street or, be the consultant.
Yeah, that's actually how I learned to speed read too.
Yeah.
I moonlit at a Christian liberal arts college during my study in kinesiology while I was attending University of Idaho. Mm-hmm. And you'd show up for that particular institution, which was a lot of great books and logic and Latin and all this, and you get a stack of 12 books and you'd see you next Monday how it was read. And so I literally the pen and the tracking and never letting yourself turn the page backwards. I had to work that muscle.
Yeah.
And now people ask me how I read a book a day. And I was telling you this upstairs, it's a freaking muscle.
Yeah.
Right. And if I quit reading, I slow down. But as long as I tell myself, you got to read a book a day, I get through a book a day. It's just like lifting weights.
That's incredible. And you're right. Because, and I have, I've tapped into, extraordinary things with some of my experiences. And the most extraordinary speed reading I experienced was flash, holy shit, I read it and I know it,
Right.
And I used to lay in my bed, I would take Post-it notes and I would put, 52 Post-it notes all over and then put ones on the fan, the ceiling fan spinning, right? And I used to count randomly, try to find, it's Lomachenko kind of training, right?
Yeah.
Where you're doing that stuff. And then in one of my manic episodes, I actually could control REM and do the cardinal directions with the eyes.
Wow.
It was wild.
What do you mean cardinal directions with
north,
the eyes?
south, east, west, and then the 45 angles in between.
You did that to learn how to read?
No. I had already done a lot of the learning how to speed read stuff, but going into this manic episode, I didn't sleep for 6 days, and weird stuff starts to happen. And at one point, right before the end of that episode, it was just in so much incredible power. I could take my eyes and I go make them go,
consciously. That's hard. There's a vision reading method called the Bates method, or a vision fixing method called the Bates method that teaches you how to take control of your ocular muscles like that and have this amazing and people will go from glasses to not wearing glasses with that method.
I have that book and I studied that book way back in the day. You see, now
there's these folks from a nervous system training institute called Z Health, by the way.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing. They have this
Eric
thing called
Cobb.
Eric Cobb. It's called the Vision Gym. And I ordered it for my wife because she wanted to learn how to not wear glasses, and she doesn't do supplements. She doesn't do programs. So I ordered it and got shoved into a closet. Yeah. And then I pulled it out and started to mess around with convergence and divergence and all these techniques. And I have 20/20 vision, but I'm a bow hunter, right? So I wanted to work on my eyesight. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. Like the way that you can train your eye muscles. But anyways, we digress once again. So you're at Williams College. You got you said political science?
Political economy.
Political economy. Yeah. What did you do with that?
Nothing. I look at sort of the way that I view the world is, sort of framed by that education, I suppose. And I think we're in a very, fascinating, interesting time where sort of we're going to have some post-capitalistic solution when the machine replaces the man in terms of labor. So, what do you do when nobody has a useful function in terms of a job? The jobs didn't go to Mexico. They went to the machine. So, okay, well, what do you do? And if the means of production can be, plenty, It's not like the Soviet Union where, only guys drinking vodka and nothing's getting built. But now you got machines going to build everything super efficiently. Perhaps there is a different political economy that needs to be established because, wouldn't it be amazing if you had the means of production, very productive, and you could give people a living stipend that allowed them to shop at Whole Foods because, means of production. And then you could go pick your kid up at 3:00 and go play baseball, go surf, go, read, go do whatever, right? Instead of some mindless, meaningless, nail the rivet in or whatever, agony that makes you drink at night,
Right.
So anyway, I don't want to digress too much, but that's what political economy, I think, I'm much more interested in it now, and I can sort of reflect back on the education and draw, insights from that framework. But I just did it because you could get a job as a banker, and it was easy for me, and I graduated with honors. So, and I worked on Wall Street this summer before my senior year, and that's when I realized, okay, well, I can't do that.
You don't want to work on Wall Street. Same thing happened with medicine. I studied pre-med at University of Idaho. I went and did a full year in emergency rooms and in hip and knee surgical sales and just got immersed in medicine. Walked out the other side of that completely disillusioned with Western medicine. And I quit my job, walked across the street to the gym across the street from my house and asked for a job. And I've been immersed in the fitness industry ever since. But anyway, so you didn't get into Wall Street. What'd you wind up doing?
I just dove into acting. So
acting,
yeah, and basically, sort of the method, right? If you study Marlon Brando, and James Dean, and the Actors Studio, and it's basically self therapy for people with angst, to be this method actor. And so I got way into that. And my senior year, I met the drama teacher, and he gave me a one-man play or a one-man show that was an hour and 15-minute monologue. And it was called Chucky's Hunch. And it was about this, essentially this loser who lived in upstate New York with his 85-year-old mother, and he was writing letters to his second ex-wife. Okay, that's who the guy was, and an hour and 15 minutes of that. And so in order to get myself into that role, to be capable of doing it to the standard that I had for myself, I didn't shower from the first rehearsal through the end of the run. So I didn't take a shower for 6 weeks. And I wore this sweater and I wore these weird wool pants, and I just that's how I went to classes. That's what I did, and it was after football season, so I had no sort of containment, and I've always just gone for it, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's weird when you don't take a shower for 6 at that age anyway. It's like you go through phases where your skin peels off and then you're almost clean again. Like it's weird, but
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, the extreme nature with which I just have approached life, those are just sort of, stories, indicators or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't shower. I shower about once every 4 or 5 days, but I'm like, I jump in cold water.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that I'm a big fan of, like I said, the hygiene hypothesis, right? Like let the microbiome grow in the body. Yeah. And if you eat shit food, then you smell shitty.
Right.
But if you eat good food, you don't stink that bad.
Yeah.
I don't think I stink that bad. Anyways, though, so you got into acting. It's crazy. You're a football player with a political economy degree. Yeah. You get into acting. Obviously, you didn't make it because I haven't seen you in any big movies.
Hey, you didn't watch One Life to Live?
No. Did you watch Teenage Dirtbag? Because I used to do acting too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anybody listening in, watch Teenage Dirtbag, and I'm the dude that basically they hired me for the makeout role, right? Like I just had to basically make out with girls over this filmed actually over in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Which is funny because I was married and my wife's like, well, if you want to make us an actor, you can do what you got to do. And then she watches the movie. She's like, I don't know if acting is the thing for you.
Yeah,
and you're like, I get it.
I played those roles in commercials, and let's put it this way: I lived 10 years in Manhattan as an actor. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've had my living. There's no midlife crisis in that sense.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so what happened after Manhattan, dude?
All right, so Manhattan, rollerblading, personal training, acting. So I was
rollerblading.
Yeah, rollerblading. So again, back to effortless power. Right. Okay. I discovered. Here's what happened. 1993, I had a knee operation to fix an injury that I had from football the year before. And I'm walking through Central Park with a buddy of mine, and I'm gimpy because I literally had surgery 2 days prior. And I see these guys rollerblading in Central Park, and they're jumping over trash cans, and they're, and I'm just like, holy shit, I need to do that. And so the next day I went and bought a pair of skates, and I started skating before the knee was better. And pretty soon I got very, very good at it. And then I existed in skates. And it's
not blade skates.
Rollerblades.
Rollerblades.
Yeah. The rollerblades, not the quads.
Not the ones with the four wheels on them, the rollerblades.
No.
That's kind of funny. Like, that's how I got into rollerblading. I saw some dude in Miami.
Yeah.
Right. And he was beating us. We were in the car, and he was like beating us through the traffic on his rollerblades. He had his shirt off. And, in Miami, I think I was like 13, 14 years old. And I asked my grandma if I could get some rollerblades, because we were there for like a week. She bought me rollerblades.
Nice.
And I got hardcore into rollerblading for a little while. And then I got into roller hockey. Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fun sport.
Oh, yeah.
But why was rollerblading so big? Like,
so rollerblading, first of all, is fascinating. Central Park, and you're rollerblading, and rollerblading was big then. It was before skateboarding sort of surpassed rollerblading. Rollerblading was more popular than skateboarding back then. And you had this social dynamic in Central Park where you'd have a CEO of a Fortune 500 company hanging out with a 14-year-old kid who lived in the projects, and they're, from a skating standpoint, the kid's much better than the guy, so they're sort of, on even footing, and they can have a conversation, and it's really cool, like, to have that kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
But I loved the skates. I loved it because you can go so fast. And I skated everywhere. I'd go out to a club on Saturday night, and I'd wear my skates, and I was good enough to walk around. You didn't even know I had them on. I lived in the skates because
You didn't walk?
I didn't walk. Walking slow.
That's crazy.
No,
you just went everywhere on rollerblades.
Everywhere. And I'm not, I'm a pretty intense guy.
There's no impact. Don't your feet get weak?
That was what happened. My feet got nubile weak. I had to crawl off a rocky beach in Spain. In France.
You mean
like the Princess and the Pea. Like, I could be standing on 1,000 mattresses. You could put a pea under it, and my foot would bruise. Okay. I had to crawl off a beach in France because it was a rocky beach. I went to the community swimming pool one day, and I had to sit down after about 25 feet of walking on cement.
You overdid rollerblading, dude.
Oh, God, way overdid it. And I had no idea back then that the feet were so important.
Yeah.
I wore cowboy boots.
So it's like a cyclist. They have this huge lungs and zero bone density.
Yeah, right. So the feet caused a back problem. I bought a motorcycle, and the starter motor didn't work, so I used to jump start it down the wrong way, 56th Street. And, when I'd ride it, I'd have to jump it. And I dropped it one day, and I picked it up in a big hurry, and I wrenched my back a little bit. And then 3 days later, I was training with a client, and we came in from Central Park where he rode his bike and I was rollerblading. And crossing the threshold of his front door, I just collapsed. White, hot pain, and spent the next more than a year in pain every single day because my feet were so weak that there was no resolving the back pain.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it.
No,
I just read a book called Barefoot Strong. It gets into this.
No,
like
feet,
feet in the back.
The feet are your feet are the interface between you and the ground.
Yeah,
and the more work your feet can do for you, the less work you got to do up top. My feet couldn't do any work for me, so there was compensation built into the equation, and I had no idea.
So you threw it back carrying a motorcycle.
No, I that was like the event that was like, okay, wrenched it, and then just the wear and tear on top of that and the weak feet, it sort of went out, right?
Right.
Like that moment when it's just like, the pain is like, I like passed out from the pain.
Oh yeah,
you're cold and you're sweating.
It happened to me like 5 weeks ago, and I'm just now recovering. I was in Iceland, and I went to like a strongman training facility. And I bent down to flip a tire at like 7 o'clock in the morning. My body's still waking up.
Yeah, nice and hydrated discs.
Yeah, it was about a 450-pound tire. And I bent down, I got my hands under it, and starting to pick it up. And it felt like somebody took, when you like rip a curtain apart or like a piece of felt like that going up my spine, or like somebody's ripping a piece of fabric apart. And it was up until, you saw me now out on the driveway. I'm moving okay, but it was up until like 2 weeks ago that I was hobbling.
Yeah, well, but
it hurt. A lot.
If I had that back injury now, I could fix it in no time because I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, you talk about pot. I was taking like 100 milligrams of CBD a night for the past 3 weeks to knock out the pain.
Okay, so what I did, my solution was, I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning, go personal training, staying out late at night. I had 4 to 6 drinks a day, just regular, just drinking alcohol. It was normal.
4 to 6 drinks a day was normal when you were a personal trainer?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You didn't know that was bad for you?
No, I was an actor, not a personal trainer. You called me a personal trainer back then. I thought it was an insult.
Sorry, I thought you just now said personal trainer.
No. I was a personal trainer to make money.
I got you.
But I was an actor.
Okay. So your identity was an actor, a drinking actor.
Yeah. And like back then, if you call me a trainer, I'd be like, I'm not a trainer, I'm an actor.
Yeah.
I train so that I can act.
Right. I got you.
So it was early mornings, then late nights, and no sleep. And then it was Aleve, naproxen, right?
For the back.
And I used to buy the bottles, Ben, that they're 4 or 5 inches tall, that version of them.
Yeah.
And I used to take them like Tic Tacs. And it was very bad.
I don't know what your liver looks like, dude.
Oh God. I just had blood work on Friday. To I keep tabs on it now very closely. But my body went toxic and it was horrible and I still suffer from it today.
Have you ever done like a cleanse or a detox or like that?
God, I did all that shit, all that stuff. I mean, I did so many things. I pooped and put it in the bag and sent it off, and I did the nurse came and took my blood, and I've done so many things. I think what I did was I bored so many holes in my intestines and my liver, it was like Bernard Hopkins just hitting it over and over again. And so when we go in the hot tub, you're going to see my belly button. You're going to see psoriasis on my abdomen that, it's just, I deal with this now.
Wow.
And when you're enjoying that risotto, I'm probably going to be...
It's all right, dude. I'm used to My wife had a C-section. Scars. Scars on abs.
Mine's not scars. It's more like scabies. It's just gross. It's just, it's...
That's crazy.
And I have terrible dandruff.
And that's from like a candida type of thing?
Yeah,
from
candidiasis.
From excessive alcohol consumption and liver issues?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was all because of that back pain?
All because of the back pain.
It started with the back pain?
Yeah, it started with the back pain, and then my belly button started oozing like stench.
What?
It was horrible. And
you weren't still on the 6-week no shower stint?
No, that was years earlier. No. I'm like 28, 29 years old when this is happening.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
It was horrible. Okay, and I still deal with the ramifications of that today.
Wow.
All right. And so, and I've done so many things, and I do everything that I do it pretty intensely, as you probably gathered. And I still suffer from that. And if I had one thing to do over in my life, I would have not done that.
You would have not consumed all the alcohol and all the Aleve and all the things that probably knocked out your liver, developed your inability to be able to detox your body because your liver is your major detox organ.
Correct.
And you went full on toxic, candida, everything.
So toxic that I was probably near, I don't know if you'd say fatal, but I was more toxic. I stopped because I had to, because I'm sort of an oxymoron because I cherish the way that I move and my health and capacity to do that. But I do, I've gone through phases in life, biting the filter off the cigarette and, smoking it that way. And, I used to have a cigar every single day. And I'd have, I loved beer, I loved wine, and I love whiskey.
Wow. So
the 4 to 6 drinks, have a couple beers, then, have nice red wine with dinner, and then maybe have a cigar with a, with a scotch or a whiskey.
So what'd you do? How'd you fix this?
So what I did was I saw Paul Chek standing on the stability ball, squatting weight. It was
buddy Paul Chek.
Yeah.
He's been on the show before.
Yeah. So I saw a picture of him standing on a stability ball, and I had recently purchased the stability ball because my last session at physical therapy, insurance isn't going to pay for it anymore. This stuff's not working anyway. So I bought a stability ball, and that training started to make my back feel better. And then I saw a picture of Paul Chek standing on the ball, and I said, hey, I'm going to do that. And when I started standing on the ball, that was the catalyst to make my feet strong. And as soon as my feet started to get strong in that way, the back started to get better very quickly. And one to always progress the challenge. I started, jumping onto the ball, jumping from one ball to another ball.
Jumping from one stability ball to another ball.
Oh yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you bust your butt.
I wish I had 2 balls here. I'd have it show me.
Well, I would, it's like that muscle, right? I haven't exercised that muscle
like
in a while.
reading.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you.
But so anyway, and then I was really into Feldenkrais back then. So I'd always had an interest in martial arts, and I took Wing Chun and studied a little bit of boxing in New York. But the Wing Chun was just terrible training compared to what I understand now.
Feldenkrais is like a movement pattern.
Yeah,
right?
Feldenkrais's work, Moshe Feldenkrais. If there's one book that you haven't read that you should, it's called Awareness Through Movement.
Awareness Through Movement. I'll find it and link to it for you guys at bengreenfieldfitness.com/WEC. Okay, so anyway, this Feldenkrais, you're also doing this.
So the idea of Feldenkrais is you want to reduce the effort so that you can discern the distinction, the gradations of force, and then iron out the inefficiencies and build on efficiency.
It's like a body awareness kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? And so it's a very minimalist approach. And so if you are standing on something and you close your eyes, instantly the challenge goes up. So I used to stand on the stability ball and close my eyes. And now, the challenge. And what I would do is I'd seek to relax despite the challenge, right? So, and then I tilted my head back one night, with the eyes closed on top of a ball. And this was a big one, a 75-centimeter ball. And I fell, I bounced on the ball, I did a backflip, and I landed. I was in a 200-square-foot studio apartment. I landed, from the living room in the kitchen. I started kicking my feet to make sure I could still do that. And I was scared. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. But my back's getting better. My feet are getting strong, but I'm not doing that anymore. But what am I going to do? And I went to bed, and this was like 12:30, 1 a.m., and it just hit me. I was like, what if I cut the ball in half? And boom! And now I just knew. Because by that time, I had like 7 stability balls in that 200-square-foot apartment. I had a loft where I had to put them up in the loft during the day and take them out during the night. Because, this ball and that ball and the other ball and... So I knew the metrics on stability balls. Mm-hmm. There were probably at that time, 2 million units annually sold in the U.S. alone, and then a worldwide market that was larger than that.
Because you can't just cut, for those of you who haven't been with one of these stability balls, you can't just cut in half, right? It's an inflatable ball.
Well, and physics abhors if it's inflated, it wants to go round. So, the physics are working against the BOSU ball. So to make one is really challenging to make a good one. Mm-hmm. And so, that was an engineering feat to sort of make it robust enough that...
I never really thought about that much, like how you actually... Because you do inflate it when you get it.
Yeah, right. The forces acting on that platform are tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous. When I built the next day after I thought of it, I built my first prototype. So I canceled everything. I got on a train out to New Jersey to my father's house, went to Home Depot. I got a pine tabletop that was round, 2 feet in diameter.
Right.
I took a stability ball and I had to sacrifice it. I was, oh God, I got to cut this thing. So I cut it about 1.5 inches beyond its center line. So I had something to wrap over. Then I got staples and I figured, okay, if I just put a staple right next to a staple, right next to a staple, right, I do that 250 times. And then I just cover my tracks with glue. This thing's going to stick on it and it'll be sealed. And, I inflated it the next day and it worked. And I was like, holy shit, this is my ticket.
Did they already have at that point, like the little foam things that you stand on at the gym and the balance boards and all these other balance devices?
Yes, they did. And the timing...
What year was this?
This was 1999.
Okay.
And so the timing of it was perfect because at that time, stability balls were all the rage.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And here was something that had a lot more utility than a stability ball, and but it was still riding the wave of that stability ball. Mm-hmm. And so it was literally ready, fire, aim. Like I just went, and when you're an entrepreneur inventing things, you got to have several trains have to leave the station at the same time. So your IP has to leave the station, intellectual property. You gotta be working on the patent and file that patent. Because if you can't protect it, then you're not going to reap the reward. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you got to do that. Then you got to do the manufacturing, and that's going to take time to find, the manufacturer, do the industrial design on it, prototypes and blah, blah, blah. So that takes time. And then you got to market it. And so the key is you got to put the IP in place before you hit the marketing button. And what I figured is as soon as I had the IP in place, I'm just going to bang a drum on this thing. And when I get the manufactured one for real, I'll start selling the real one. But in the meantime, I'm going to make prototypes. I'm going to get this thing off the ground so that when I have the finished product, I've got a market that I can sell to. I'm not going to wait. Right. And so October 4th, I was patent pending. And October 14th, I sold the first 2 units to the U.S. ski team. I flew to Park City.
Oh, you acted fast.
Oh, it's so fast. If you're an entrepreneur, early bird gets a worm, baby. I mean, you just got to go, right?
Yeah.
So it was so funny too. The guy's name was Andy Walsh. He was the head of their, training at the ski team.
Where'd you have the money to build these?
The money?
Yeah.
Well, at that point, it wasn't that much money because it was, I would take a router and I would cut this Baltic plywood out. And I had to shellac it. It took me about 6 hours every unit.
So this was like the cheap ass ugly Bosu Ball.
This was a staples, duct tape, and glue. Yeah, that's what this was. But it was functional. It let me get the story off the ground. And then it was funny because when I got to the ski team, Andy Walsh, he shows up late. It's snow on the ground. He had ridden his motorcycle in. He takes his helmet off and his nose looks like Rudolph. And he's like, sneezing. He's like, got a cold. He comes in, or he opens the door. I go in this room and I see all these products like on the walls, like shelves. And I'm like, man, you got a lot of products here. And he goes, yeah, people send me this shit all the time and they want me to validate it. What do you have?
Right.
So he got it right away. He loved it. And we became an official supplier to the US ski team like right then and there. They bought 2 of them and then they bought 12 of them and they bought 12 of them and they bought 12 of them. Like it was a big deal. And then with that in hand, I took it to the Yankees. I took it to the Lakers. I took it to the Devils. I took it to the Ravens and the Rams. And it was all the championship teams from the Big Four. I'm going to validate this thing. They bought it, and I had to sell it. I didn't give it. I said to them, listen, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to leave this with you here, and if you use it, then I'm going to send you an invoice. I'm not going to give it to you. It has to, this has to be valuable to you, and I'm not just going to give it to you, but I'm going to leave it here. And if you don't want it, then I'll, get it back. But, if you do want it, I got to send you an invoice.
Right.
So I just built the story. And then by the time I got to like the fitness market, you start at the top of the mountain with the elite athletes. You make them better. Then you bring it down into fitness and that professional market. And then with the Bosu Ball, you go to consumer.
Do you think that's how you do it if you're going to invent a fitness device? You go to the influencers first.
If you're going to do it organically, then you have to go to the influencers. If you're going to do it the other way, where, the infomercial route, then you're going right for the consumer market. And that's a different ball of wax. That takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of money. And if it hits, you make a lot of money. But it's sort of like you're taking this big cauldron that's going to cost you a lot of money to build and fill it up with water. And then you got to put a lot of fuel underneath it, a lot of wood, a lot of coal, and you got to light it on fire. And, that costs a lot of money to make the steam rise. And if you're fortunate, the clouds form and then it rains. And you've built the buckets to catch it.
All right, if you're doing all the cool things that David and I are talking about in today's show, then you may or may not need some joint support. So there's a lot of different ways to support your joints, right? So collagen is one thing that's been studied quite a bit. Like type 2 collagen is a specific structural protein in cartilage that has been shown in double-blind, placebo-controlled studies to help out with joint function and joint pain, especially after strenuous exercise. And then there are a whole bunch of things that can shut down inflammation naturally, like cherry and ginger and turmeric and white willow bark and hyaluronic acid, boswellia. A lot of people will use these things all by themselves, but once you put them all together, it's like a freaking anti-inflammatory shotgun for your joints, for recovery, for a whole host of anything that has to do with inflammation in the body. Now, once you combine all of this with 2 other things, minerals and enzymes. See, enzymes break down fibrinogen, which is one of the things that also causes soreness after workout. You have a really potent, almost like a shotgun formula for knocking out inflammation. So that's where this stuff called Flex fits in. So I have a bottle of Flex in my pantry. I don't take it every day. I'm going to shoot totally straight with you. But anytime I'm injured or anytime I've crushed myself with a hard workout, I pop anywhere from 4 up to, on some days I've done 12 of these bad boys. And you wake up the next day feeling like you got a full body massage, like from the inside out. It's crazy. And this is one of the brand new formulations, this flex formulation that I have over at my new website, where I'm releasing a whole bunch of new formulations that I'm designing. It's called Kion, Kion, Kion Flex. And to get it, just go to getkion.com, getkion.com. Automatic 10% discount on the stuff. Once you get there, there's a coupon you can use. So it's getkion.com. And the stuff I just talked about is called Kion Flex. See what I did there with the name? Flex, like flexing a muscle. All right, I'll shut up now. Back to today's show. Getkion.com. Check it out. Kion Flex. Never be sore again, or at least be sore a whole lot less. But you obviously made it with the Bosu Ball, though.
Oh yeah.
Like you made a lot of money on that thing, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
because I see it everywhere.
Well, still do.
Yeah.
We
So is that it for you? Were you just like done it for that? Is that passive income and now you're retired, or like
No,
did you have a family at that point, or what happened?
I married my wife in 2003. We have 2 kids. We're divorced now. Very amicable, but I can understand. It'd be hard to stay married to a guy like me.
Yeah, you're kind of crazy.
Well, crazy, yes, but I think, there's, I would say intense and just different. Because I don't think I'm crazy.
Yeah, and your belly button isn't like oozing toxic sludge anymore.
No, it's just,
understand.
No, it's just red.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
So you got married, you're divorced now.
Yeah. I have enjoyed a passive income, for a long time. And what I did was, rather than focus on the money, I licensed it to have a passive income where, I've had no deliverables due I still work with the project. I still have things that I have to do, but in conventional sense, or for all intents and purposes, I have no deliverables due.
Yeah, that's it. So Bosu Ball is on cruise control now.
Yeah, for me.
Okay.
So I went to Chinese medical school.
Wow.
I would go up to Esalen Institute for 2-week stints and, study with, Ed Mopin. And, he was one of the first students of Ida Rolf. And, I'd go to China. Like, I invested in my education.
Yeah.
That's how I spent my time. I was invested in my education.
How long did you do that for?
Oh, I still do it. I've been doing it since.
So you obviously started inventing things again.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm all I care about is results. So if you keep on exploring, then what's the issue that I'm trying to enhance or fix or make better? And then how can I do that? And then that leads to the inventive process.
You told me you got through a period of your life where you're like getting really heavy into pot.
Yeah.
And that actually led to other, I guess, breakthroughs. What happened there? Okay,
so I was an East Coast guy who thought that pot was for losers and stoners, and you were burnout if you did pot.
This was after you'd invented the Bosu.
No. I'm talking high school now.
Okay,
like
gotcha.
drinking beer, crushing Budweiser cans on your forehead. Like red blooded. That's who I was, right? And potheads were potheads. Then when I moved to San Diego, I just encountered so many people that weren't losers. They were very productive people, and they smoked pot. And I'm like, wait a minute, you smoke pot? You're a lawyer.
It's kind of like how Silicon Valley executives now are doing LSD and psilocybin.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was sort of like, it was like, wait a minute, you're a lawyer. You've got a family. You drive a Lexus, and you smoke pot every day. And so it sort of lost some of that negative connotation for me. And then I started it, and basically what it did for me, it acted as a stimulant. It works differently, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, it does.
And for some people, they function better. For some people, they function worse. It
knocks some people out and starts some people on freaking fire.
No, it started me on fire, and I'm talking the deeper purple.
Same thing with alcohol, really. Some people it just knocks out, so they get super social.
Exactly. So for marijuana, for me, was a stimulant, like crazy stimulant, and it just brought me to sensitivity in my body, and I could feel everything. And so my Tai Chi practice was just like, I would do pot to basically exist with the Tai Chi. I could feel everything, and then play push hands where you're manipulating, someone else's body. You're not letting them find your center. You're invisible. You yield, you neutralize, you issue. And with marijuana, I got very, very good at it. But the marijuana also was catalytic for bringing my mind to some dangerous places. And that was exciting too, to sort of go off into the, those outer realms and, sort of play with the fire. That was fun in a regard, and, really led to, just a lot of places that I wouldn't have gone otherwise. And it gave me a somatic receptivity that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Mm-hmm. So it was beneficial in the sense that it taught me a lot about movement because I could feel the truth, better than ever before.
Yeah.
And it also led to 3 psychotic breaks from reality.
Say, did you overdo it? Or?
Oh, God. Yes. I mean, did I overdo it?
I know. I get the impression you're an all or nothing kind of guy.
Yeah. So I got to the point toward the end of it. I no longer do it and I no longer crave it because I got what I got from it. And in the past, like after the psychotic break, my family's like, look, are you going to stop doing this? I'm like, all right, I'm not going to do it today, but no guarantee I'm not going to do it tomorrow because I wasn't done. Mm-hmm. And then I always went back to it. And I got to the point where...
It's a very addicting substance, especially if you're using it for productivity like that.
Yes.
Like you feel like it makes you a better person, so it's easy to excuse just like doing it all the time.
Of course. And I got to the point where, I was getting, I don't even know how many hundreds of dollars a week I was doing, but, getting the most intense concentrates I could get.
Oh, wow.
I had an electric nail that, you don't have to heat it up with the torch and, hit it with this, glass thing that cost $500. And, I had a volcano.
Back there behind me, I've got like this, some fancy vaporizer, and I'll drag that thing out like once every couple of weeks when, when I go out to the hot tub or something like that. But,
right.
But you were doing the super expensive stuff every day.
Saturation.
Wow.
Because your tolerance always goes up.
Like morning to evening? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
When
You're just like high all the time?
All the time.
Wow.
I would go lecture at San Diego State University and I would be stoned out of my mind.
Crazy.
And I could just sling, from the hip because I know what I'm talking about. And the pot just like all these dots, like you can connect dots from here to there, to there, to there, to there. Right?
And you're having these like psychotic episodes.
Well, not all the time. So they ramped up, the psychotic episodes ramped up, where you go on a mania run.
Yeah.
And then, I crashed 3 times, and the last crash was like catastrophic. Like it was like I was catatonic from a long manic rolling. It
was all just from being psychotic on THC.
The THC, what it would do is it would bring my mind to these places where, I was exploring the outer realms and going. You know what they say when they say, someone who takes DMT. It's that life-changing. I've never done it, but they say you take the DMT and you're Mother Ayahuasca has now revealed to you the Graham Hancock, blah blah blah, and it takes your ego away, right? So your ego self is no longer there, and now you stripped it away, and now you have this insight, and you're forever different, and it's amazing, right? So what I did was I was going into those outer realms through marijuana, THC. But with my ego fully intact and, leading with the ego. So I was going into those outer realms and trying, getting in tune with weird things, but, full on ego, which is a very dangerous combination. Because then you start feeling power. And then that power becomes very enticing. And then you start to da-da-da-da-da, and it's not a sustainable thing. And then you crash. So, But now I figured certain things out, made certain discoveries I otherwise wouldn't have made, and I came out the other side. And October 2016 is when life crystallized for me. 2016 of October.
Oh wow! So at the time of this recording, like a year ago.
A year ago is when.
And you were like heavy into THC until then.
I was heavy into THC until the beginning of 2016, and then I just stopped it, and I was catatonic. And and I have an amazing psychiatrist who really has saved my life, and he's, I've seen him for 11 years. He's amazing. And the treatment that got me out of the funk was called ECT. So,
dude, I just did a podcast about electroconvulsive therapy.
Yeah.
Because I have a device up in my bedroom called the Circadia. And
Okay.
it's like mild electroconvulsive therapy to help you sleep at night.
Oh, wow.
It shuts down cortisol and increases dopamine. So it's like baby ECT, but it's very, very similar. I'll link to that podcast in the show notes so that you're listening in. But I would imagine what you did was a little bit heavier form of ECT.
As heavy as it gets. You
Like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest kind of heavy.
It's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with a very civilized, we're going to anesthetize you and we're going to paralyze you so your body doesn't jump off the table and you feel nothing.
Is that a common thing people do for things like THC addiction?
No. It's like the last resort, but apparently it's the gold standard. And it's very, very, I think One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest sort of put it in a perspective where most people just think of it as savage and, okay, that's, that it's almost a punishment. Mm-hmm. But if you are severely depressed and nothing else is working, that's what you do. It's like a reset.
Yeah.
My doctor told me that if someone got raped and, let's say a 16-year-old girl got raped, what he would do is he would prescribe ECT immediately, and then that episode would no longer exist for that person.
Wow. Where'd you do this? California?
Oh, yeah. California. Yeah, 10 minutes from my house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's weird because I have just chunks of time that I don't remember.
Yeah.
But
crazy.
But I'm better. So
yeah. So what happened after the ECT last year? Was that like because you have all these things you brought to my house, like this club and this new thing we can't talk about that you've invented to help make.
Well, no, on this
fast?
podcast, we can talk about it.
Oh yeah, because this podcast isn't coming out for until after it's been released.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Gotcha. So was that when you jumped back into inventing once you kind of like got off the THC bandwagon, or?
Well, what happened was that long manic run led to certain profound insights about tensional balance in the body. And if you think about
tensional balance.
So if you think about balance, the best way to think about balance is coordination. Okay? It's an orchestra. It's where and when. That's what balance is. It's homeostasis.
Okay.
Right? The cellular respiration that you and I are, doing right now has found that homeostatic point, and yours is, as balanced and tuned as just about anybody because of all the things that you understand and you do, right? Other people, it's a different balance where, oh, well, maybe I have the alcohol or, too much or whatever it is, but you always come to a balance, right? And as far as physical biomechanics, it's about the tensional balance. It's the interplay of tension and relaxation orchestrated as efficiently as possible. So that's what balance. It's not, don't fall down, right? That's a low bar for most of us to not fall down. Mm-hmm. It's how efficient are you? And most people everybody has inefficiencies in their tensional balance. And most people, the busy, electricity everywhere, I sit in a chair all day, they have very little awareness of how inefficient they are. Mm-hmm. And if you don't walk with your head over your foot, meaning over your right foot, over your left foot, over your right foot, every single step you take is not tensionally balanced. That means that your lower back on the other side has to squeeze just a little bit harder than it otherwise would have had to do if your head was over your foot. And so now add them up. 25 years. We talk about millions of reps. Oh, why does everybody get back pain? That's one causal factor, not the only, but one causal factor, because so many people walk poorly. And then couple that with the fact that shoes, which I'm a big believer in shoes. Like, I'm not going to walk New York City barefoot, right? I mean, that's dangerous. Mm-hmm. But shoes are, most shoes prevent you from walking optimally. You can't do it. People say heel striker, midfoot striker, forefoot striker. No, you want to be a spiral striker. You want to go from the outside, which is strong, fourth and fifth metatarsals, that's strong, to long, the inside, the pronating roll through. And you want that to be smooth and as efficient as possible. And shoes don't let you do it. That hard edge on the outside creates an accelerant for the pronation.
Okay.
So if you have a transition that lets you go according to the right pace, the where and when, then you have a chance at walking right. But if you wear a shoe, like most shoes, you don't even have a chance of walking right. That's where we are. And for most people, who gives a shit, right? It's too much to think about. I got other things to do, right? Monday Night Football's on. Fuck that. I'm getting a beer.
Right. That, or a lot of people have just switched to minimalist shoes. Like I wear a pretty minimalist shoe, but I don't move the way you were just showing me up in the driveway.
Here's what you do. Because when we were introduced, I then went, did my homework. Mm-hmm. I listened to a ton of your stuff, right? And I'm very glad that I have. I've learned a lot. But I saw a video of you and your family, and you were walking, and you're a head over foot walker, Ben mm-hmm. Greenfield, because I can't help but look at the way you walk. That's the first thing that I see. Mm-hmm. Before I see the TNA, I see the way she walks. Mm-hmm. So, the concept of tensional balance, I got this esoteric, crazy, using the 6 degrees of freedom, and I drew all these lines and diagrammed the feet, and I sort of came up with these lines and these angles and this geometry, where I sort of figured things out. But that was in the crazy time, and then coming through the the low, and then coming out of it, I was able to just simplify it to green dots. Mm-hmm. Initiate with the green dot. Right?
And tell people what the green dots are.
So the green dot is a green circle that is located on what's called the 4th and 5th metatarsals. So the metatarsals are those bones that are forward in the feet, just behind the toes. And the outside ones, the 4th and 5th, so the pinky toe and then the next toe, those bones literally come back to the foot and they connect through the heel bone. And the big toe, second toe, and third toe, they connect up to a bone called the talus, which is on top of the heel bone. So the green dot leverages the power of your heel and your posterior forward in the foot. So it gives you the best mechanical leverage to produce the most productive ground loading force to initiate the contact. And you go from strong, the outside, to long, the inside, in locomotive, gait cycle, if you're doing
and
it
that's
well.
what you're talking about when we're talking about spiraling gait.
Yes, spiraling gait is basically that outside strong to inside long. So you don't want to think of flat transition through.
Yeah, I know some of this can be hard for people to visualize, but I'm going to link to a bunch of your videos in the show notes, and also the Facebook Live video we just shot on the driveway. So for those of you listening in, that'll be really good for you to watch to understand what David's getting at. Just go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/Weck, and you'll be able to watch it. But why don't more biomechanists or coaches or running instructors teach this style of movement, this spiralizing style of movement?
It's because in this world that we live in, we have to produce right now results. So there's tremendous pressure to perform in this world that we live in. And that means that it essentially has an effect to stifle innovation, because you can't take risks. You can't take chances. The strength coach can't come into practice and say, or, the weight room session say, guys, I got a theory today. We're going to test this out, right? Can't do that, because if you fail, you're fired. And then your credibility's gone and blah, blah, blah. So what you have to do is you have to listen to the guy who's had more time in than you, right? And you got to do. And you haven't lost your mind 3 times, and you haven't gone off, and you haven't I have absolutely no fear socially now. And I used to sweat my armpits, OCD, being all like that. Right now, I'm not afraid of anyone, not afraid of anything. You can't ask me a question and be prepared, because you might not be able to handle the answer, because I'm just going to tell you the truth, right? And so it puts me in a position where I'm just extremely honest. Most people put on that eminence front. Yeah. And I still comb my hair and put gel in it, so I care about, that social mechanism. I don't want to be that awkward. But when it comes to, okay, well, so-and-so says this, so it has to be right. Well, no. What are they saying? It doesn't have to be right. What's right is right. And so I had no deliverables due. I could go off to Chinese medical school. I could go,
Right. You got time in your hands because you kind of got independently wealthy from the Bosu Ball things. You've got time to explore a lot of this.
Time. Listen. Money is time.
So tell me why you said, I think in an email to me, you said that so much of what you see in training today is complete nonsense.
Yeah.
Does it go beyond just this fact that people are trying to teach front to back movement versus moving in this spiralizing fashion?
No.
With the weird arm swinging thing that you were showing me?
Yeah, great questions, Ben. You're awesome. So let me take it back to locomotion, sort of deepest, most ancient ancestors. You know, the idea is we climb down from the trees, okay? So in order to locomote on the ground and catch the rabbit and not get eaten by the wolf, you got to carry sticks and stones. Mm-hmm. So that means that locomotion itself, bipedal locomotion, is contingent upon your ability to swing a stick, throw a stone, and then eventually, string a stick and then shoot an arrow and sling a stone and blah, 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 right? So those are your first tools. They're your first weapons, and they're necessary. They're essential for walking bipedal. Okay. And walking bipedal is the fundamental and universal function that is a foundation for just about everything else that we do. Even swimming and cycling, activities that you think might not be so related, they're intimately related with the function of your body's core to do these things. Okay? Now, the 3 planes of motion, there is a sequential order or a hierarchy of these 3 planes of motion that can be looked both macrocosmically and microcosmically. And I apologize to your viewers if I'm getting a little, I'm going to try to go slow and, you'll attach my contact to this so people can ask me questions.
Yeah, your contact and your videos are all going to be over there. Yeah.
Right. So basically, if you look at the first animals on planet Earth, they were in fluid and they wiggled. They side bended to get from here to there, to eat and not be eaten, basically. Okay? And what that did, that mechanical stress led to a segmented spine. That is the, evolution happens, it builds on what came before. So, our foot looks remarkably similar to the foot of a dog. It's just, they're standing on the metatarsals, we're standing on the heel kind of thing, right? So that segmented spine in the frontal plane, side bending is first. Then you have the amphibians and the reptiles that come up from that. And now you have this transverse counter rotation to, limbs are coming out the sides, you're side bending, but then you're counter rotating to locomote in that manner on the ground, because in the water, you don't have to deal with that gravitational force to prop yourself up. So fish, all they have to do is side bend.
Right.
Okay, so the amphibians now they start and initiate with the side bend, and then they do that transverse counter rotation. That's the root of our motion, because the mammals just prop themselves up higher and made that sagittal movement, the flexion extension, to potentiate more energy.
That's really interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, so think of like the true...
That's why when you had me up on the drive on my belly on a Bosu ball, moving like that before you showed me how to do it upright. Now I understand why.
Yeah, exactly. There's a method to my madness,
I get it.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, this is fun talking to you, man.
Yeah.
I like you. So basically, the mammalian strategy is create the potentiation by raising the center of gravity, and that costs energy, right? You're warm-blooded, right? The true paleo diet is sit on a freaking rock and let the sun heat you, and you don't have to eat for 6 weeks because you're a lizard and you just sit there, right? That's all you got to do. I'm not spending a damn drop of energy.
No cookie dough protein bars required.
No, you don't need anything because you're just not spending any energy. And in nature, efficiency is life. Mm-hmm. The guys in Ohio, they look at the guys in California banging tires with a sledgehammer. They go, what the hell are you doing? You're working as hard as you can without working. We're chopping wood. We're doing the same thing, but we're getting the job done, right?
Right.
So efficiency, now that's sort of the macrocosmic frontal plane first, then the transverse counter rotation next, and then the sagittal extension flexion next. And so it works in your body the same exact way. So the curvature of your spine means that when you side bend, biomechanically, it's going to create this counter rotation. And it was Serge Grakovetsky, who basically coined the term spinal engine. The core is the genesis. The core is the originator of your rotational power.
But most people, when they're training their core, don't train it the way that you were showing me.
Correct.
Even if they know the core is supposed to rotate or the core is supposed to brace. If I'm, take Stu McGill, right, who I'm actually getting on the podcast, who has all these back pain relieving exercises where you're planking or you're doing like a quadruped exercise, but there's not that side to side spine movement. At least I haven't experienced that.
Well, here's what it is. Okay. And Stuart McGill is the perfect example because he holds a very special position in the fitness industry.
Yeah. He's like considered to be like the father of spine biomechanics or
and core.
Yeah. Core.
Right. And he's not in the trenches the way so many people are, so that, and he has all the peer-reviewed studies and the 30 years of experience and but when it comes to locomotion, throwing, swinging, those activities, he doesn't know or understand those activities. So what he studies and what his bias is basically weightlifting. The squat, the deadlift, brace and stiffen the core. The power comes from the hips. It doesn't come from the core, right? Stuart, you are right when it comes to deadlifting and squatting, but when he equates the deadlift with sprinting, he's made just a cardinal mistake, because you cannot brace your core and limit the bending motion of the spine to run fast and efficiently. And if you look just on and this is where it's like the king isn't wearing clothes, and this is why I bring up Stuart McGill, and it's a contest of ideas. Okay, I mean no disrespect, and it's not a personal attack, but there are personal feelings associated with your positions. Okay, so when somebody tells you that you're wrong, there's a natural reaction to that, right? And so many people in the fitness industry sort of take stabs at other people, and it's more malicious than it is just wait. Let's put the ideas in the arena, and we don't have to fight.
Right.
Our ideas are in the arena. And what I've done is I've figured it out. Nobody knows locomotion like me. And I'm not being conceited, but nobody knows it like me. And the invention that I showed you earlier that we can talk about now, that changes the game for everybody.
Yeah, and we talk about the club in the video that I'm linking to in the show notes, and the Bosu Ball and the Royal Coil. And so you guys go watch the video for this, but explain to me this latest thing.
Okay, so basically, let me just talk about coiling the core real quick versus bracing the core.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll clarify that. So coiling the core, basically your most important core muscle, your lats, okay? The lats have the most origin points, the most real estate. They span the hips to the shoulders. They are capable of contracting upon their own origins while lengthening the insertion. So other muscles can raise and lengthen the top of the lat whilst the bottom of the lat is contracting. Name me another muscle that can do that. And Grakovetsky has this wonderful video where he has a man with no legs who is walking by side bending and counter rotating.
Like that fish you were talking about.
It's like the amphibian who became a mammalian who stood up.
Yeah.
Because it's the spinal engine. Now, Grakovetsky himself didn't understand it fully because he put too much emphasis on the multifidi and the small central proximal muscles. Those are non-volitional muscles. Okay, right now, ready? I want you to flex T7 multifidus, right? You can't do it, right? It's reflexive. Yeah. And so basically the multifidi, that's like they're playing the orchestra, they're playing the piano, and it's like Rachmaninoff, and it's right here, right now. I got to micro adjust to maintain the balance, the rhythm, the harmony between these spinal facets and the different vertebrae. That's what they do. They're the fine tuners that make sure that the global movement is okay at that micro level. That's what they do, and it's reflexive, and they're playing the piano gorgeous. And then you come along and you do an exercise like the Palloff press, this anti-rotation exercise where you're bracing against a twist, not even a rotate. And it's like going chong on the piano because you don't want to light up every multifidi muscle and, make it just brace and squeeze as hard as it possibly can. There's no coordination in that. Mm-hmm. And this is what's being prescribed. And Stuart McGill is one of the most influential people in the entire world when it comes to these practices, because he's the guy that the best and the brightest listen to. He's the guy that the best and the brightest cite. He's the guy that the best and the brightest base their programming choices on. And he's telling you that the core does not generate power, rotational power. He's telling you that you have to brace it. He's telling you that a fundamental law of human movement is that proximal stiffness is how you move the distal extremities fastest and most powerfully. That's incorrect. And the irony is that it violates common sense because these people are too smart that they miss the forest through the trees. And so if you ponied up, at the bar with a high school buddy of yours, you're having a beer and he's a contractor, and you say, hey, do you brace your spine in neutral when you hit a baseball? He's going to look at you and say, what are you talking about? Right? Think of hitting a baseball. You bend your spine.
Yeah.
Right? So, and locomotion's
the brace it, you bend it.
And here's the other thing. It's not like bracing as opposed to wet noodle limp.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm a tennis player, right? So for me,
think about
when I'm serving, I don't brace.
When you're
freaking bend.
There is no time on the there is no time on the tennis court when you are stiffening your core on purpose to mimic a deadlift.
Yeah.
Okay? Never. All right? So anyway, now to get into sort of this new device, okay? So the coiling core is contingent upon lat function. You want to train it with an ipsilateral focus, and it's basically you just train the lat to optimize itself, which optimizes the spinal engine. Every other muscle in the core in the body is going to come along and play nice and do their job if the lats are optimized.
So in layman's terms, you're teaching the body with this device how to engage the lats while you're moving.
Here's the thing. The coiling core exercises teach you to use the lats to harness the spinal engine, which is the setup. That's the proximal, the center of the body, the core, to now use this new invention that I have that is the distal. It's in the hands. Okay?
Right.
So basically what I've discovered is you don't want to swing your arms to run. Okay? And this goes back to when our ancestors had to carry the sticks and stones. If you're forced to carry a big long stick, it's very hard to pulse your arms. It's just carrying counterbalance with the arms, right? But if I remove the need to carry a stick and my hands are empty, I don't want to swing them because I'm not optimizing the function of the connective tissue, the fascia, if I swing them. As the arm comes forward and up, the braking force is now muscular, not fascial or connective tissue. Because I can keep raising the arm up, and my elbow and my humerus get, even with my ear before the connective tissue stops it. And that's not fast. It's not energy efficient. So if I'm going to sprint, I have to pulse the arm down with a very specific arrangement of the arm, the elbow, the wrist, the hands, to create a fascial stop, a terminal range of motion down that creates a pulsing force up. So the up is now free. And you're using the momentum and the body weight down to hit the ground harder, to get off it faster for sprinting. And if you're going to teach somebody how to run faster, regardless of distance, you have to teach them how to sprint their fastest.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It looks like you're moving your arms in a spiraling motion while you're running almost.
There's no straight lines in the body, right? And you definitely want them coming toward the midline. So this idea that you got to keep your arms, perfectly sagittal, that's just wrong too.
It's the way most people are trained to run.
Well, the luminaries, right? Kelly Starrett, who is extremely intelligent. His contribution to the mobility and the release. I mean, he's expert in the world, right? But when it comes to his book, Ready to Run, I mean, it's just. He doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
He just doesn't understand it. So he's telling you to do things that are incorrect. And and again, it's just a contest of ideas, and I invite people to scrutinize.
Oh, yeah, they will. I mean, like, if you want to scrutinize, go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/Weck. Leave your ideas, especially
absolutely.
Especially you, Stu, and Kelly, if you're listening in.
Right. Yeah,
because I know you guys listen a little bit as well. So these things that you hold in your hands, what are they called?
Okay. Right now, they're called pulsars. Okay, so you all that are listening to this interview, this is you're hearing about these devices when by the time you're hearing it, they're out there and they're starting to be marketed and people are going to know about it. But right now, as we're taping this podcast, they're still private. They're still secret. Okay, so they're called pulsars, and the technique for sprinting is called the double down pulse. And for distance running, you use either a passive double down pulse or a wing pulse. Okay? And this new invention is a hand weight with a shifting load inside the chamber, this steel shot, that allows you to harness the momentum of the weight without the inertial force putting on the brakes because it shifts. So when you pulse down, and it's very specific, and you picked it up pretty darn quick.
I picked it up, and dude, I was running more efficiently within like 3 minutes.
Bingo. That's what makes this so special.
Up and down the driveway.
That's what makes this so special, is that this invention takes something that's extremely difficult to do, and it makes it relatively easy to do. You'll get it if you try, let's put it that way, right? And here's the kicker. You can actually run faster holding these hand weights than you can not holding them. So training with them will pattern the muscle memory and give you the ability to run faster than you could before, without holding them for all the activities where you can't hold them. But if you want to run your fastest, holding these weights is faster. And that is the most counterintuitive concept that there is, that you could add mass to the distal extremity.
Right.
And be faster.
Right. They're not super heavy, but at the same time,
correct.
You're like, yeah, I'm holding these weights and I'm running faster. It was actually quite weird because you're just changing your entire biomechanics.
Correct. Now, there are natural athletes who do these things like the double down pulse. And I'm the guy who has literally thousands of hours in studying video. Okay. I have files and files and files of, okay, here's running, here's jumping, here's punching, it's da-da-da-da, right? I want to understand it. And the only way that you can understand it is frame by frame. My college football coach used to say, the eye in the sky does not lie, okay? It can be misinterpreted, which it is when you don't understand it, but it doesn't lie. And when you understand it, then oh yeah, now it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
What was not obvious all of a sudden is obvious, okay? And there's tremendous resistance to change. The best example of a paradigm shift in sports is Dick Fosbury doing the high jump.
Right.
So
switching to the Fosbury flop.
Yeah, so Fosbury flop. So it was the Western roll. You went over the bar with your front facing it, or you scissor kicked over it. And what the problem with that is your center of mass has to go over the bar. What Fosbury discovered was that if you go over bending your back and your back faces the bar, your center of mass doesn't have to go over the bar. So the center of mass is now lower than the bar, but you're getting over the bar.
Yeah.
And so it's an advantage that you have to exploit. Yeah. It is impossible to jump your highest without that technique. Now, Dick Fosbury demonstrated it in 1968 in the Olympics. He won the gold medal. In 1972, the Western roll won the gold medal because you didn't have social media. And the powers that be didn't like the Fosbury flop. And so Dick Fosbury could have a conversation with Ben Greenfield back then, but it stayed in that room. And you go to the authorities, the head of the, whatever, the track and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, we disagree. We don't like it. So the message we send out is no, that's nonsense. It's bad. It's dangerous. It's a fluke. 4 years after a man demonstrated that it's superior. 4 years later, they're doing the old technique. Guy's a superior athlete, and not enough guys got in the game to do the superior technique. So you want to talk about, when the king's not wearing clothes and he's walking down the street, there's a vested interest in, hey, if I've been saying that those robes are gorgeous and oohing and eyeing at the king's clothes, when the little kid says, hey, he's naked, well, maybe that's difficult for me to reconcile. Because now I feel foolish. Now I feel wrong. Now I don't feel vindicated. And if I'm in the fitness industry, what am I trading on? I'm trading on my expertise. Why do you have expertise, Ben Greenfield? It's because you live what you teach. You can discuss the subtlest little nuances of everything that you teach because you do it. That's like Steve Cotter teaching the kettlebell. He can give you the subtlest little cue because he does it.
Yeah.
And expertise, feeling is knowing. Now you bring me back to pot, right? Feeling is knowing. I could tell you if a fly landed on my body, and it would set me into motion when I first started doing the pot. And that's why I loved it. So I would go to Esalen Institute. I'd be standing down at those pools. I'd be naked in the sun. And I'd be like, being one with gravity.
It's a good visual, man. Send me that photo. I'll make it the featured image for the podcast.
Well, back in those days, I was ripped. I looked like you back in those days.
That's funny. Hey, so we're coming up on time.
Yeah.
Coming up on time.
Yeah.
And you've highlighted these pulsars that you've invented.
Yes.
Now when I put together the show notes for everybody,
Yes.
By the time this podcast comes out, are those going to be available on your website for people to get?
Yeah, let me tell
All
it
right.
real quick. So I'm doing it the same way I did the Bosu Ball. Remember I said earlier that the trains have to leave the station?
Yeah.
All right. The reason why they're going to be public by the time this publishes is because IP will be in place. Okay, that's how it works. The IP is in place, patent pending. Now I can start to share it. Okay,
Right.
So the manufacturer, that train has left the station, but the next station isn't for a while because you got to prototype it. You got to draw the CAD files, the 3D printing. It takes time. But the marketing, that stop is the next second away. Social media. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the same exact way I did the Bosu Ball. I'm building handmade prototypes in the beginning.
Yeah.
They function fantastic. You felt it.
Yeah. The one up on my garage. It's ugly as hell, but it works.
Exactly. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to market it completely organically. I'm not a big old throw a bunch of money at it, put on. I suck at marketing. What I can sell is I can sell the truth. That's all I can sell. You make me a marketer and sit me around the table and I got to come up with an idea to sell something I don't give a crap about. Well, guess what? You don't want me in the boardroom. Okay. My ideas aren't good that way. So I'm marketing this thing as, look, you want to do it now? You want to do it better now? Buy this thing. And it's from my hands to yours. I will not be doing the whole process because we're going to have to make a ton of these, but my hands will have touched every single unit that goes out. And I'm going to make a certificate of authenticity because these things are going to be collector's items. Okay.
Cool.
That's what I'm going to do because we live in a world with so much BS that and I can't take it. I can only remain sane if the king's not wearing clothes. Donald Trump is a freaking idiot. I hate Hillary too. So don't tell me that I'm this or that. Can't someone tell the truth?
I can tell you. I can tell you're no BS guy. So although I'm going to talk to you during dinner, that we're going to head up to dinner here pretty soon. We'll hit the hot tub.
Yes.
We'll go have dinner, and I'm going to see if I can convince you to hook my listeners up with some kind of an insider deal on these things.
Ben 10, your discount code.
Ben something.
No. We came up with the rhyme. Hey, listen. Last night I text Mary at whatever time we were emailing. I said, Mary, can you set up a code? And She texted me when I land. The code's Ben 10.
That's funny because that's what I've used in the past. So that'll get people. If I send people over your website, they'll give them a 10% discount on this stuff.
A 10% discount on basically anything that we sell.
At your Weck Method website.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/Weck because I understand a lot of this stuff is pretty visual. I've got videos of David demonstrating some moves in my driveway. I've got a link to his website with plenty more videos. I've got the podcast I did with the guy who introduced David and I, Chris Holder. I'll put a link to my podcast with Paul Chek, the Awareness Through Movement book, all the things that David and I talked about in today's show. And David, you are one crazy, unique guy, and I can tell you want to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say two things now.
All right, go ahead.
So the first one is...
That's all yours. Wrap things up for us.
Okay, so there'll be video links on there for these pulsers, double down pulse, the passive pulse, and the wing pulse. Okay, so that'll be on there too by the time this thing goes. And let's just talk about crazy, okay? Apple Computer did an amazing advertisement years ago. Thank God for the crazy ones, right? Thank God. And everybody's got a little bit of crazy in them. And most people are terrified to acknowledge it and reveal it. But you know what? Again, we got to strip away all the nonsense. And we got it. The only way that this world goes forward and we make it and we enjoy all of the amazing things that are happening is if we can cut the BS. Okay? Guys like Donald Trump as the president can't continue to do that. Okay? Hillary Clinton can't continue to do that. We got to figure out new ways to do it. That's my political economy sort of, coming back into it. What I care about is legacy. I care about what contribution I've made to this world. I care about my kids. That's my legacy. And I care about my grandkids. I care about those. And we're in for, it's either going to be massively wonderful or it's going to suck big time. And I want to be a force for making it wonderful.
I dig it, bro.
Thank you.
Perfect place to end.
Thank you.
Even though Donald Trump might be a listener.
Good. Trump, you're a punk. You're a punk.
Dude, let's go hit the hot tub, have an amazing meal. Thanks for coming on the show. Folks, check out bengreenfieldfitness.com/Weck for all the show notes and more videos, the website for David Weck. Everything you need is right there. David, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, folks. Have a healthy week.
You've been listening to the Ben Greenfield Fitness Podcast. Go to bengreenfieldfitness.com for even more cutting-edge fitness and performance advice.